Hey guys, this is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks, episode 235 on Spotify and YouTube. Well, thank you guys for watching this podcast, listening to the podcast, sharing this podcast with your friends and family, everyone in between. Also, I appreciate it, whoever is donating to the podcast. Also, just dedicating their time just to listen to these episodes. And honestly, got a lot to talk about. We got a food festival, 626 Night Market. It was hosted here at the sports arena, the Pachanga Sports Arena. Um, we want to go over some UFC 319 fights. We'll probably just do the main card. Um, but yeah, guys. On this episode, let's start with the food. I was joined by two comedians here in San Diego, Aaron Gonzalez and Dalina Horchata. And, they're great company, and they got to see how great this night market food festival is going to be. And this one is actually kind of cool because they actually expanded from like 75 vendors or so to now 150 vendors. Now you got more food options. You also have chances to buy some, clothing, arts and crafts, candles. There's a lot of clothing items actually too. Some stuff that you could probably use on a day-to-day basis. They even have one of those what is it? One of those circular triangle hats, very commonly worn by women in Vietnam or something when they're out in those ponds and like the forest areas. I want to say rice paddies, but I mean, if you ever watched like one of those scenic, very peaceful video clips in like TV shows or in like documentaries or in like movies, you'll see like women wearing those was it bamboo hats, and they're like they're circular, but it has like a triangle, angular pattern they do. So honestly, those are cool, and I got to see some being sold. It actually is a good idea because it's going to be a hot summer here in San Diego, or any hot place you're going to be at. You could probably wear that if you're going to any place that's going to be hot during the next couple of months, because it'll probably be hot from now. Let's see, now it's August. It's probably going to be hot from August to October, maybe November. We've had some blackouts. We've had some, brownouts, power outages. Yeah, you got to crank up that AC at home. Hopefully they got that whole thing sorted out actually. So I don't think we've had another like a real blackout, like citywide, statewide blackout for a while. I remember I was here for that. That was not fun. Anywho, yeah, 626 Night Market. I'm glad it's getting more popular. I'm actually glad that they actually also have at least two food festivals here in San Diego, because the first one is the Foodie Land, which is usually held at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. That's usually in May. They used to do multiple events here. They used to host it at the Snapdragon Stadium. Also come back to Del Mar after the racing season's over. But I've noticed that Foodie Land only did one event here in San Diego. I would know. I always keep track of that. And then the 626 Night Market. So in a way, you kind of have the 626 Night Market kind of like being a Foodie Land, but it's slightly smaller. But it's really cool to see all these vendors come to San Diego, so we're all blessed. Another reason why you should live in San Diego. Good food, you're by the beaches, a lot of beautiful people, and a lot of things to do here in San Diego. But yeah, I think the first thing I tried was, I might have shared this with, I think Aaron Gonzalez. It was an item at Molly's Kitchen, and they do have skewers, and you just happen to have like squid, octopus, I think, maybe. I don't think they have crab or lobster, but they do have scallop on skewers. The scallops are kind of big, and I had it at the Foodie Land Festival, and I think I might have had one again at this 626 night market. It's really good. Gotta say, it was probably a 9 out of 10. I always like jumbo size portions, especially for like one big piece of meat coming from a certain protein. And they always make it so tasty, grilled it pretty well, and I always recommend that to anybody. And even though they're known for their squid, but the scallop is kind of very underrated. So go get their scallop at Molly's Kitchen. I think the next thing I tried out was soup dumplings at All Dat Dumplings. They also have All Dat noodles, but I decided to do some dumplings because I was kind of craving. I've been on this whole dim sum binge lately, so China Max and Diamond Palace, and I still remember Pearl, but that one's gone. But they still have Jasmine and Emerald. So, but I gotta say, China Max does have their all-you-can-eat dim sum, and then Diamond Palace has like literally all-day dim sum, I guess. So, great quality from both restaurants. But I happened to get soup dumplings at the All Dat Dumplings. It has a little bit of I think it's like chili oil. They put it on top of the soup dumplings, but they gave you 6 pieces, I believe, and you just have to eat it right away. And it's really good. The meat inside is pretty good. The broth is pretty good. I think it was like a 8.6, and the only reason why I'm doing that is because if you wait too long, the outer cover of the soup dumpling may stick to the those foil cups they come in. You're supposed to remove it from the foil cup and eat it right away so that it doesn't break, because it does stick to it sometimes. All that soup broth falls out, and that's supposed to be the main part of the soup dumpling, is the broth. So, but the soup dumpling is really good. It's just that you can't take your time. You got to eat it almost right away. 8.6. I think the next thing I tried was Tokyo Yakisoba. They do have these takoyakis. They're like these really like fried I guess you could say a fried Japanese ball. Maybe I gotta look that up. But they did have some flavors, and I happened to get the negi ponzu. Ponzu is a little spicy, but I think negi is the green onions. But those are nice toppings because those Japanese balls, those Japanese takoyaki balls, those are good appetizers for anything. Got to share some, but those were good quality ones. Takoyaki is a very popular item. You gotta go to the right spots. You gotta try them out all, but you'll probably find your favorites. And I like this one coming from this particular vendor at the 626 night market, because I know there were like probably 4 competing vendors with takoyaki, but I happen to choose Tokyo Yakisoba for theirs. So I want to say their takoyaki was 8.8 out of 10. So good stuff from them. Well, next item I tried, it was the Unreal Poke, and I tried their shoyu poke bowl, and gotta say, really good stuff. Give you a lot of poke on top and some good rice at the bottom, There might have been some veggies in there too, but their poke is really good, and it is pretty much on par with most other poke places, the good ones. So they put their stamp on San Diego, so I'm pretty sure it makes a lot of people in San Diego remember this place. Unreal Poke. I want to say their Shoyu Poke Bowl 8.9 out of 10. Next, I tried the Yatai. Yatai is like an LA based vendor, and they have these Japanese fried chicken on a skewer. I like skewers. So I got the OG Yatai skewer. So it was the original flavor. I want to see what it's all about because there are other ones. I think they're more spicy than this one. So I'm not too big on spicy, but I'll have a little kick. But the OG Yatai was actually the perfect starter pack, if you can say. It's really good stuff. Good Japanese fried chicken. I ate it all. I don't think I shared too much, although I might have had some from Erin. She couldn't finish it. I'm always a finisher. But the Yatai OG skewer, I want to say it was an 8.8 out of 10. It's hard because I did have the Taiwanese fried chicken at the Foodieland Festival before, and it was a lot bigger than this one. So I do have something to compare it to. I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I would probably pick the jumbo size Taiwanese fried chicken over the Yatai, but this one was pretty good. So what did I say? 8.8? 8.8? No. Yeah. 8.9 out of 10. Yeah. Next up, I had to get a drink, so I got sugarcane juice from Cane Fusion, and I happened to get the dragon fruit sugarcane drink. Really tasty. It quenches my thirst, helped me wash down everything. I believe the dragon fruit juices were on top of the sugarcane. So you can see the two on top of each other, and you just have to mix it up afterwards. So it's kind of a nice place to have like sugarcane, because I think sugarcane was more of a 626 thing anyway, and it was very popular at Vietnamese vendors stores. So I think I had something similar in front of the Philip Ta Mall, Bolsa, in, I guess you would say, Little Saigon, up in Santa Ana. I think I had that. I might have had them before. So honestly, Cane Fusion is probably something similar to them that I had, or it might have been them actually. So I gotta say, their sugarcane drinks, they have a lot of flavors. Dragon fruit, kind of drew out to me. They do have like mango, kumquat. They probably have strawberry, coconut. They have a lot of flavors, but I chose dragon fruit, and this drink was let's say 9 out of 10. Next thing I had, I guess we're going to enter our dessert portion. We got the I went to Sunday Cafe Arcadia. They had this thing called the Dubai Chocolate Con Frescas, and essentially it's Dubai chocolate covered strawberries. I like strawberries, and I've been starting to like Dubai chocolate. So that was a very tasty dessert drink, and they must have given us like maybe 5-6 strawberries covered in Dubai chocolate. Gotta say, it was good to share with Erin. Might have shared it with Delina as well. But that Dubai chocolate con frescas, I don't think I've had that like that before. I mean, the whole idea of chocolate covered strawberries with Dubai chocolate is like next level. So I gotta say, the Dubai chocolate con frescas, I want to say it is a 9.3 out of 10. It's really good. I recommend it. I wonder if they're at their other food festivals, because if that's the case, I will try them again. If I haven't had a dessert already, but if I'm still hungry for more dessert, I am getting that. um, and then I tried another amazing dessert item. Is a dessert drink. It is from Lao Maison Eats. I had something called the Nam One. This drink dessert had jackfruit. It had um, coconut, jackfruit, um, padon, um, padon, coconut, jackfruit. I don't know if they have passion fruit or not, but it has a blue color um, on top of their drink, and they put lychee, I believe, on top. So that's kind of an interesting dessert drink to have with lychee, jackfruit, coconut, jackfruit. I think I might have said it already. Um, I was just, that's a good way to get me attracted to get to your dessert or any of your items because it looks so good on pictures. So that dessert drink, gotta say, 9.3 out of 10. I'm super impressed. I will go back to the 626 night market every single year because I look forward to that every single time. So it's nicely spaced out. You got the Foodieland in May, you get the 626 night market in August, and those are good times. And I'm just waiting for them to come back. I'll keep tabs on them and go tell friends and family and drag them all to go, and they'll all be blown away by how good this is. And Foodieland too. Foodieland, and the 626 night market. Go to those events. You should do your research. Go keep walking around until you find something that attracts to you. Also, ones that you want to return to. So, for me, I like to get 3 to 4 items per day. Maybe try something new, or go back to the ones that are home runs. So, and honestly, it's a great way to kind of promote it to other people on their behalf because you had a great experience with it and you had a good time. You had some good food in most cases, and have a good time trying to convince everybody because they probably will be convinced and they're going to spend their hard-earned money on some good food and drinks and desserts. By the way, free parking at the sports arena to do this 626 night event. So good catch, good promo by the sports arena or the 626 night market to say that the parking is free. So you don't have to pay like $20 or $16 or $18 at like Del Mar Fairgrounds. I do want to talk about UFC 319. That event was taking place in Chicago, Illinois, and the main event was Hamzat Chimaev challenging for the 185-pound championship held by the champion Dricus du Plessis. And we got an interesting main card. I mean, you have that fight. You do have Aaron Pico versus Laron Murphy. I believe that fight is a featherweight division fight, 145. Then you got Michael Venom Page going up against Kevin Holland in the 185-pound class. and you got Carlos Prates going up against Jeff Neal. I think that is a 170-pound class. And then we got the opener of the main card, Tim Elliott versus I think his name is Kai Asakura. That was a flyweight men's division fight. So 5 good fights. Got some finishes and decisions. So let's start with Tim Elliott and Asakura. Tim Elliott, you know, I remembered him from winning the Ultimate Fighter, and he had the right to face the champion Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, for the flyweight championship at the time. And you know, Tim Elliott had some momentum coming out from winning the Ultimate Fighter, but he kind of surprised Mighty Mouse probably in the first round from what I remembered, but after the first round, I think Mighty Mouse was able to defeat Tim Elliott. I don't remember if it was by finish or by decision, but Mighty Mouse retained his championship. Honestly, I think I've only seen Mighty Mouse lose one time ever. That's how good he was. What's cool about Mighty Mouse is that he actually had this one special sequence defending his championship where he kind of jumped into a flying armbar. So that was kind of cool to see that when he was champion at one point. But yeah, Tim Elliott, that's how I remember Tim Elliott. And, you know, he's been kind of in the UFC for some time. And he just happened to be placed in the main card. And he got to face Asakura, who now have the second fight, I believe, now in the UFC. And, well, his first fight was with the champion, Alexandre Pantoja. And I guess, you know, you just kind of jump into the lion's den. Well, he lost to Pantoja. And then, you know, now that you got to fight Tim Elliott, I would think that after you fought the champion, learn some things from fighting the champion, even though you lost. You would think you have a better time with a veteran who is not even in the top 3, top 5 of the division, and is kind of a, you know, a veteran that's just kind of just fighting for the love of fighting. In most cases, I would have assumed that if you're fighting Tim Elliott, you should win that fight. But unfortunately, Tim Elliott was able to choke out Asakura. So that's 0 for 2 for Asakura in the UFC, and I don't know if it's going to get any better than that. Great win for Tim Elliott, great submission. Kudos. Next, we have, I believe it was Carlos Prates going up against Jeff Neal. I believe this was a welterweight clash, 170 pounds. I've seen Jeff Neal for a good bit of years in the UFC. But Carlos Prates, I think he fights out of the Fighting Nerds. And it should be a good fight. And, well, what do you know? The fight was pretty good, and Carlos Prates, I think he, I believe he had a spinning elbow to knock out Jeff Neal. If I remember correctly, I think it was more like the bone connecting to the elbow. Because I think I always Always thought the elbow was like the joint that bends, but I kind of consider more this is the forearm, but it looked like this is more of what hit Jeff Neal from the spinning elbow, but they call it a spinning elbow. So, and that was a spectacular ending to that fight. And Carlos Paredes, if I remember correctly, he may have lost before this fight, and so he is back in the winning side of things. If he did lose his last fight, I guess he gets to rebuild his winning streak again. And hopefully he takes on some good fights later on and maybe challenges for the title down the road. Because I gotta say, the Fighting Nerds has a very tough crew to beat. So, especially with Caio Baralho, that guy is pretty good. And then there was Michael Van Page going up against Jared Cannonier. I gotta say, up until now, I got to see MVP fight, and the guy is super lengthy, tall, has a weird fight style. His hands are always down, but he is super, super quick, and you don't see his awkward fight style until he's already made his motion to strike, and it's already too late. And you just got to be able to counter or just be fast enough to dodge as much as you can, because he's just a quick guy. And he was quick for a good 2+ rounds, but he was taken down, I believe, in the third round, if not, or one time in the second round. And MVP actually ends up winning by decision. I think it was 2-1 on almost all the judges' scorecards. But yeah, that fight style is just—it's really hard to gauge and figure out how to work that. But you know, good win for MVP, and he is simply just climbing up the middleweight ladder. I think he was a welterweight at first, but he decided to take the fight at middleweight, and who knows? This could be an interesting division in middleweight for MVP. Or if MVP decides to try to run both divisions. So, good victory for MVP. Then we got our co-main event. Aaron Pico making his debut in the UFC. Coming over from, I believe, PFL. He might have did some Bellator. And he was going up against undefeated fighter Laron Murphy. Guy is pretty bulky. Looks pretty strong. And this is supposed to be an exciting fight. And honestly, Aaron Pico had the upper hand for like the first couple of minutes. Or the first minute, so to speak. Against Laron Murphy. And Laron Murphy just had to figure out how to gauge the speed and pace coming from Aaron Pico. And, well, after all that work from Aaron Pico, Laron Murphy got the spinning elbow flush on Aaron Pico, and Aaron Pico was just timbering down to the mat, crumbling at the impact of a spinning elbow. What a knockout for Laron Murphy. And Laron Murphy is just moving up that 145-pound ladder. Who knows? Laron Murphy might actually get a title shot against Volkanovski down the road. So we'll see how that's going to go. Laron Murphy puts his name in the picture for the 145-pound championship picture. So that was amazing to watch, and to see a guy just completely stop, crumble, and just fall to the mat. That had to have been fight of the night. Performance of the night, basically. So then you got your main event. Khamzat Chimaev chasing the 185-pound championship held by champion Dricus du Plessis. And it went exactly how I thought it would go. As great of a fighter du Plessis is, Chimaev just has a high level of wrestling, and the takedown happened 8 seconds into the fight, and there's, what was it, 12 takedowns that happened over a course of 25 minutes. So Chimaev just wrestled Duplessis, was very smart about it, did not let Duplessis utilize any of his strengths for almost the entire fight. Yeah, Chimaev had the crucifix maybe 3 to 4 times on Duplessis. I've never seen a champion so helpless and just useless with all of his things that he learned, and he couldn't use any of it for a good 24 plus minutes. And just to see a guy just couldn't get out of it. Chimaev was so strong, and he locked his arm with 2 of his legs, and he held the other arm with his own arm. So it's just left with one limb for Chimaev to keep raining down elbows and forearms and punches, rubber punches. And I think Chimaev collected 529 strikes. Most of them could have been significant strikes or just strikes in general. But Chimaev looked like he was getting a little bit tired as the fight went on, because as much as he took down and dominated the fight, but he just simply couldn't finish Duplessis, who held on for dear life, surviving all the submissions. And with that domination, Duplessis did get out maybe once or twice, and he did have the upper hand for maybe a good 15 seconds during the fight, and that was his only opportunity to try to finish Chimaev. But unfortunately, Chimaev is just so good at wrestling. He easily flipped the position and countered Duplessis whenever Duplessis seemed to have an upper hand for like however short amount of time. But that's how good Chimaev is with wrestling and grappling, because it almost feels like he was toying with him, and he might have been bored. Like, hey, you know what? Why not try being on my back for like a few seconds? And all of a sudden, Chimaev just got up and flipped it and just kept dominating. There was a sequence in the 5th round where I think they were standing, and Duplessis tried to knock out Chimaev, but Chimaev just simply, absorbed whatever punch he took. And, you can kind of see signs that Chimaev doesn't like to stand up for too long, because he always has his bread and butter with the wrestling and grappling. And, of course, that just makes him a very smart fighter, because he doesn't always play the game of his opponent. He's always playing to his own game plan and forces his opponent to play that game plan. Honestly, there's only one way you can defeat Chimaev. Honestly, you just have to be strong enough and smart enough to defend the takedown and force Chimaev to strike, where that is the only place you can catch him. Because I'm pretty sure there are fighters that strike a lot faster and better than Chimaev, but Chimaev has such power in his hands that if you get caught with one of those strikes from Chimaev, it's lights out for you. For the most part, there is a weakness somewhere for any fighter, and only stand-up is pretty much the only way you can catch Chimaev. You just got to make him tired from the takedowns, for defending the takedowns, because if you're both using up all your energy to try to get the takedown and defend the takedown, those two forces will make both or one of them tired. And with that being the case, you get frustrated and you're forced to go to plan B, which would be the striking. And that's where you can get him, because he's not the best striker, but he does have power in his hands. And honestly, that is really the only way I can see anyone beating Chimaev, is just defend the takedowns and outstrike Chimaev. And that's the only way you win the championship, much less a fight with Chimaev. But honestly, I don't see anyone in the middleweight division who's strong enough to defend those takedowns, and he can't even get to the second part. So you're going to see someone breaking their jaw. You're going to see someone getting choked out. You're going to see someone getting knocked out, all from Chimaev. And this is what is left in the trail of damage by Chimaev. That's all you're ever going to see. And sometimes you might see someone be willing and brave enough to go 25 minutes with Chimaev, or much less 15 minutes. But honestly, from how I see most of this division, I don't see Nate Diaz surviving. I don't see Israel Adesanya surviving. No way is Paulo Costa surviving this. Um, Strickland, the only way he can survive is he has to hit him, Chimaev, like right off the bat. He can't do wrestling because if that's the case, Chimaev wins easily. Um, the Ritter is an interesting one, but I don't think he has enough to defeat Chimaev. Um, so, if any case, even throw in Bo Nickel. he might have the wrestling in a sense, but honestly, he'll probably get knocked out or choked out because Shemaev level of wrestling is just better than everybody else's, and I don't see anyone else at that weight with that amount of skill and strength and energy to outperform Chimaev in all those areas. So you could see Chimaev being champion for at least a year or two, and he might just clean out the division completely. And who knows? Chimaev might go up to 205. He might consider going back to 170. So who knows where the future holds for Chimaev, but he is going to be fighting for titles, if just for his own, and maybe try to be a double champ or multi-division champ, so to speak. So we're in the world of Chimaev, and we just live in it now. So anywho, guys, I'm so glad Chimaev won the championship, and it's been a long time watching him, and he finally got the gold. But that's it for me, guys. It's great talking about food and great fights. And next time I'll talk to you guys about even more good food, more sports, and of course, more comedy shows. I got to see 3 comedy shows in the last 72 hours. I'll be excited to talk about that. You got Ube World, Major Malfunction, both at the Mic Drop Comedy Club, the greatest club here in San Diego. And of course, Privateer Marketplace, produced by Heather Marie, out in Oceanside. So a lot of great comedy. To stay tuned to hear me talk about it. There, guys. Boom. Tiggy Maximus signing off. Yeah, baby.